what market you're in, and all that good stuff. We're just getting the back end, the stream set up. We're so excited for this today. And I can actually probably change your name, Talia. Will you tell me how to spell it?
Tilisa.
S-A. Okay.
And then Stubbs, Stubbs.
Okay. Perfect. Now we've
Thank
got
you so
everybody
much.
named right. You're so welcome. I'll make sure you should have co-host. Just weird. I think Angelica, do you see the option to give them co-host? Because it's not giving me the option. All right, ladies, even if you're a hot mess, feel free to pop your cameras on. You're going to get that much more value. These ladies are going to pull the curtains behind and show us some of the amazing things that they do. And so this is going to be a huge opportunity. Let me get us going live on Facebook and we'll be good to go.
Perfect.
Okay, we are live there. All right, welcome everyone. So today we're talking about starting at ground zero, right? Really, McKayla? Ground zero for investing. And really quick, just to kick us off, because I think it's so important. Like we don't just have any people up here today talking about investing. We have McKayla and Tilisa. Am I saying that right? Tilisa?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. We have McKayla and Tilisa. So I would love if just to kick us off, you guys could give us a quick little intro about, what your current investment portfolios look like and just a little bit of that proof so people know like, dang, I'm on the right call.
Yeah, absolutely. Tilisa, do you want to go?
Sure. So my portfolio is kind of a mix of a little bit of everything. I've got a little bit of multifamily, so some apartments, mainly single family homes. I do a combination of short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, and I would say within the last 3 years, I've grown my real estate portfolio to close to $2 million, starting from zero scratch. And so if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, I love that. And what I love about Tilisa is that she is a whiz at getting other like private funding, which is incredible. So she was able to build, like, would you say all of your portfolio or most of it with other people's?
Yeah, no, 100% of my real estate portfolio was built using other people's money. I haven't used a dime of my own money. And so it's been extraordinary.
Yeah. And that's so much why I wanted to bring Tilisa into the fold and do this with her, is because I wish that when I first started, I had this information and knew about private money and creative financing. So anyway, I'm McKayla Hale. I live here in the Panhandle of Florida, and I have 203 properties in my portfolio right now. They're a mix of long-term, short-term, have some apartment buildings, and I have a huge passion for short-term rental properties and creating amazing guest experiences. But that starts at buying the property and renovating it and designing it with intention for those guests. So I am really excited to share with you guys and dig into a little bit about what I've done to grow my portfolio, because it's possible for you. It is absolutely possible for anybody to build more residual income, add more streams of income, and make your life easier so you can buy back time with your family, your kids, your partner, go do things that you love to do and not spend so much time worrying about money. So
how about that?
I love that. I'm ready. I'm excited. And so on that note, you guys have an actual presentation for us today that you're going to walk us through, right? And I think you both have co-hosts, so you're ready to take it away.
Cool.
Okay.
Tilisa, I'll let you just be in control of the presentation, and then
that sounds good. So I'll share that here in a second, but I first wanted to just say how honored I am, McKayla, for just inviting me to do this with you. You could have asked anybody, and you asked me, and so I am very honored. And then Moms in Real Estate for allowing us to be on your platform. It just brings me a lot of joy. And so I'm excited to be here. And I am here to really disrupt any of the limiting beliefs that any of you guys may have as far as real estate investing goes, because it's holding you back. Your limiting beliefs
100%.
are holding you back. And I want you to know that you deserve this life. Like, you deserve a life of abundance. You deserve a life of being able to have financial freedom, time freedom. And that's not just reserved for a certain group of people. But ultimately, it kind of just boils down to the fact that we all do need money. I know sometimes we can try to be so humble and say like, oh, I just need enough money to be able to pay my bills, or, you know, I just need enough money to be able to get by. I don't need to be rich. And ultimately, when we think like that, you know, it's really a lack mentality. And you find yourself stressing about, am I going to be able to send my kids to college? Am I going to be able to pay these medical bills if my mom or dad gets sick? You know, am I going to be able to go on frequent vacations with my boo to keep that fire lit in my marriage? Like, those are all of the things that, you know, financial freedom gives you the ability to have. And so I want to get you guys out of that lack mentality, and into that mentality of just like pure abundance. And so today, McKayla and I are going to just be showing you guys some strategies on how we have been able to create this life for ourselves and our families, and really find cash flowing rental properties that will sustain our life and will continue to sustain our life for many years to come. And so, anyways, this is going to be very informal, but I want you guys to make sure that you have like a notebook ready, a pen, so that you can write some notes down. I'll tell you one thing, like, I am extremely passionate about creative financing and raising private money because I feel like not enough people truly know about it. And so make sure that you guys are taking notes. And so the first step, oh, McKayla, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, because I think it's so important and impressive and relevant, is like, when it comes to financing, you guys, Tilisa knows what she's talking about. She literally has an MBA in finance, right?
Yeah, accounting and finance.
Accounting and finance. So like, she is the numbers gal when it comes to calculating deals and all the things that are so relevant to figuring out if a property is going to cash flow, etc. So she knows what she's talking about.
Thank you, McKayla, for that.
Yeah. For sure.
So you guys, there's a couple of things, and I think that the first thing is just to be able to identify one. I'll say this. Before I was ever even a real estate investor, I was telling people I'm a real estate investor. Like, before I had even closed a deal, I was saying like, I'm a real estate investor. And so that's the first thing that you guys need to do, is start identifying as a real estate investor. Tell yourselves, I'm a real estate investor. Type it in the chat, I'm a real estate investor. Once you've come to that conclusion, at that point, you need to be able to identify where you are in your real estate investing journey. And so I'm just going to, before I start my presentation, I kind of want to get a feel for where the audience is in your real estate investing journey. So put a 1 in the chat if you struggle to find the money. If money is the primary reason as to what's been holding you back, I want you to just type a 1 in the chat.
Or if you believe that you couldn't do it without a partner or your husband's money, or if you have that belief that you're like, if I was left to my own devices, could I buy a property by myself today?
We have a lot of 1s in the chat. Okay. If
you're not alone, this is so common.
It's so common. And another common thing is people wonder, I don't know how to analyze a deal. So if you feel like you don't know how to analyze a deal and that's what's holding you back, I want you to type a 2 in the chat.
And you can be a 1 and a 2.
Yeah. There we go. We got some twos in the chat. Okay.
Cool.
I cannot wait to share this. Oh my goodness. You guys are going to be so blown away by this. Okay. All right. Number 3, if you don't know where to find the rental properties, you don't know where to find them. You don't even know. Okay. All right. 3.
Where to
Let's
look,
go
where
ahead.
to find the distressed houses, where to find something that's not on the MLS, right? Many of us have access to the MLS, but if you're looking for a distressed property or a cash flowing property, not always on the MLS. So
Yep, we got a lot of 3s. And so
cool.
lastly, if you feel like Tilisa, McKayla, I have like little to no experience in this, I want you to put a 4. Put a 4 in the chat. Okay.
Cool.
Some of you guys are like 1 through 4. That's me.
1 through 4 is here for it. Like, I love it. I love it. You guys are in the right place.
So I'm going to tell you guys a little secret about real estate investing. Finding the money is probably the easiest thing when it comes to real estate investing. And I'll tell you the reason why. It's because if you have an amazing deal, just about anybody who's wanting to get a return on their money is going to throw their money at you, literally throw their money at you. I have had complete strangers find out what I'm doing and they're like, how can I invest with you? Where can I send the money? How can I? So I'm telling you right now that money should literally be like the least of your worries. Let's go ahead and debunk that limiting belief. Secondly, analyzing a deal, you guys, is basic math. It is basic math. And McKayla and I we're going to be doing this 6-week series where we're going to kind of break down how to analyze a deal. And you guys are going to see, if you guys know basic math, addition, subtraction, then you can analyze a deal. Okay. Where to find the deal is also very easy. And I mean, McKayla just said she has access to the MLS. I literally have people sending me deals every single day to my email. I don't even have to go out and look for them. Deals come to me and I have to just open up the email and take a look at it. So finding the deal is not difficult at all. And then lastly, number 4, by the time you guys are done with this masterclass today, you're going to know everything that you need to know in order to feel experienced enough to go out there and start this on your own. Okay. So I hope that kind of gave you guys a little bit of relief in knowing that the 4 major limiting beliefs that you struggle with are minuscule compared to what you guys can actually do in this space. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if let me know if you guys can see it. Did it pop up or no?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. All right. 1 second.
Can you guys put in the chat where you guys live right now? Like, what market are you in? If you're a realtor, like what your profession is, that would be super helpful.
Okay. Here we go. Now you guys should be able to see it.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay. So I am Tilisa Stubbs. I am an expert when it comes to creative financing and private money. My kind of forte is that I help real estate investors reach their financial freedom number with using 100% OPM. And when I say like 100% other people's money, I mean like even down to like my earnest money deposit. I think the most that I've ever come out of a deal on my own was probably, oh, McKayla, I'm not sure if you're able to see the people in the waiting room, if we could let them in.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, perfect. So anyways, when it comes down to like earnest money deposit, entry cost, furnishings, rehab, like all of that, I use other people's money. I think the most that I might come out of a deal, maybe like $100 to start the LLC. But other than that, it's really 100% other people's money. And so I teach other people how to do that. But I started off with very humble beginnings. As McKayla said, I am an accountant. I have an MBA in accounting. And so this is me in my corporate days, sitting in my office with my team. And I had just gotten to the point where I did not like the fact that I did not have freedom. I didn't have freedom to just get up and go to my kids' sporting games or go to award ceremonies. Like, I always had to ask my boss, is it okay if I go? Or, you know, can I get somebody to cover so that I can do this? Having those sort of restraints just started to kind of wear me down. Anytime I wanted to like plan a vacation with my husband, I always, because I worked for the school districts, I was director of accounting for a school district, I always had to plan my vacations in the summertime, because during the school year, it was like almost impossible to be able to go on vacations. And then when I'm trying to plan something for the summer, my husband's working in the summer. So it'd be like sometimes 2 years before me and my husband can go on like a nice vacation. And so I just got to the point where I was like, you know what? I want to buy my freedom back. I don't want to feel the constraint of having to live in somebody else's expectations or within somebody else's schedule. And so, and I'm not advising you guys to do this, but I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself. I started to learn a little bit about real estate. I had bought a property before and sold it and made like $50,000. And I hadn't even done any renovations. It was just the property had appreciated in value. So by the time we sold, we were able to, you know, get that equity. But it was just like, if I could make a career out of this, because that was so easy, that's the path that I want to go. And so one day I walked into my CFO's office with my letter of resignation, and I decided that I was going to go ahead and quit this corporate job where I was making well over 6 figures. I was very respected in the space, but I literally gave that all up. And not only that, I sold my house. I sold my house. So I quit my job. I sold my house, moved into an apartment, and pulled all of my money out of my retirement plan just so that I could go all in on real estate investing and buying rental properties. And so I'll tell you one thing, that in the beginning, it was extremely hard. I had to be around other people who were doing this. And so this right here is me at my very first real estate investing conference. And surprisingly, it was for all women. And so it's ironic that all of us women are here today. But it was a group of women that showed me this whole other life of being able to create your own schedule, having your properties bring in your monthly income while you get to kind of build your life by design. And I was just like, this is amazing. I can't believe that women are really doing this without their husbands, without banks. Like, I've got to get into this. And so, like many of us, what I ended up doing first is using all of my own money, right? And I got an Airbnb in downtown Dallas. But the thing is because I used all of my own money, and I was really thinking that this one property was going to provide me the lifestyle that I had at my 9 to 5. I had learned very quickly that my money runs out. And while this property is bringing in all this money, I still have business expenses, and I also still have personal expenses. And so I got to the point where I was using the money from this one property to basically fund our lifestyle. And my money started to like dwindle down, and I started to get really stressed out. And it got to a point, and I'm just going to be completely honest with you guys, it got to a point where I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to like feed my family. Like, that's how low our bank account got at one point. And I debated with, oh my God, did I make a huge mistake? Like, should I have just stayed at my job and I'm like, I've got this MBA. If I want to go back to the corporate space, I can, right? But, you know, I had a decision to make. I could go back to accounting and live that mediocre life that I once dreaded, or I could learn this new skill set and really be able to obtain my dreams. And so I opted for option number 2, to learn a new skill set. And that new skill set was learning how to raise the money for my own real estate projects. Because I told you guys at first I used my own money and I depleted it. So I started investing in myself. This lady right here, many of you may know her. Her name is Amy Majori. She is like the queen of raising private money. And I actually paid for one of her classes. And I was like, wait a second, this lady is literally raising money from complete strangers to fund her real estate deals. And I was like, this is exactly what I need. Like, this is exactly what I need so that I can continue to build my own portfolio. And so I paid for her class, and I started learning all the ins and outs of like how to raise money. And one day I was at the airport and I was like, you know what? Somebody in this airport has my money for my next deal. And I'm going to talk to somebody and secure the funding that I need. At the time, I had a quadplex under contract. And I ended up meeting this guy on the plane. And while we're 30 feet in the air, we just start having conversation. And I'm using all of the skill sets that she taught. And by the time we were done with our conversation, the plane was landing, he was like, you know, Tilisa, I've got about $300,000 sitting in an old retirement account, and I'd like to invest it with you. Like, how can I get into this? And in that moment, that was like, okay, that was proof of concept. Like, this really does work. Complete strangers will fund your deal, because ultimately, if their money is just sitting and it's not making any money, then everybody's looking for a way to get a return. And so when you present yourself as this expert in the real estate space, and you talk to people about what you're doing, the deals you're doing, the returns that you plan on making, people want to be included in that, right? In addition to that, I also learned how to buy properties creatively, which is what I'll talk about here pretty soon. But when I say buying properties creatively and using private money, the main thing is that you don't have to have your credit ran. You don't have to get banks involved. You don't have to come out a dime of your own pocket. Like, that is the beauty of being able to buy properties creatively. And so that quadplex that I was telling you about, it looks a little raggedy right here, but this is a property in Florida, Riviera Beach, Florida. And I bought this property seller finance. And I'll explain to you guys what seller financing is. But basically, all I had to do was come to the closing table with $100,000. That included my closing cost, money so that the sellers could walk away with a little bit of cash, money to cover their agent's commission. And then I raised a little bit more so that we could renovate 2 of the units so that we could increase the rents. But this was a $650,000 property, and all I had to come to the table was $100,000. And so I'll talk about that here. But ultimately, once I bought that property, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so, like, that was so easy. That was so simple. And I did it again, and then I did it again, and then I did it again. And then I was like, well, people are asking me, how am I doing this? How am I able to buy all these properties without any of my own money? So then I said, okay, I guess I just should start teaching people how to do this themselves. And so I started a mentorship, and now I have a bunch of students who are now doing the same thing. So that last picture right there is actually me and one of my mentees closing on a property that McKayla was the seller's agent on.
Yup. Which is
McKayla,
so
we'll have
wild.
to them the story one day
I
about
know, I know.
that whole deal.
So wild, but so thankful.
I know, I know. But anyways, this mentee of mine, she was able to raise $100,000 using the tactics that I taught her. We found this property and we purchased it subject to, meaning that we just took over the existing mortgage. And I think our entire entry fee, including like McKayla's commission and all that other stuff, I think it was like $56,000 or something like that. But me and my mentee were able to partner on this deal, and it was just so exciting. And for her, it was like, oh my God, this is like proof of concept that you really can buy a property without having to have your credit ran, without having to go to banks, without your husband, all of those things, right? And without any of her own cash.
And the biggest thing that I want to add to that really fast is just that many of us are realtors, some of us are lenders, and notoriously, I see time and time again realtors being very standoffish, very closed off to creative finance options, especially for representing clients in a transaction. And the biggest thing I want to share with you is I know why you're nervous about it, but oftentimes we're nervous because we don't know enough about the process and what is possible for our clients. And my client in that specific situation, this offer from Tilisa was the best situation for my client. Had he sold it on the MLS, he would have lost so much money. And in fact, Tilisa's offer, he was able to walk away with money that he was never planning on walking away with from this deal. So I just want to encourage you all, if you don't know, now you know us. Now you know Tilisa and I. And if you need something, if you're like, oh, hey, like got this offer, I'm curious about this, you should reach out. And you should also learn, which is why I'm so glad you all are here. You should learn that these situations can actually be incredibly beneficial as long as you're working with the right people on the other side of the transaction to benefit, whether it's you or your clients as well. So this information is twofold for your profession. So anyway.
Absolutely. I think that learning these creative finance strategies can help real estate agents to be a better resource for their clients.
Sure.
I feel like sometimes the options seem so limited, especially when you're not getting a lot of offers. But it's like sometimes you are getting these creative offers, but you really don't know you don't know how to look at them. You don't trust it. And so it's like you don't give your client the ability to be able to close on something as fabulous as this and really benefit, because sometimes we just lack the knowledge ourselves. And so there's 3 strategies here that I'm going to teach you guys, and we're going to just run through these pretty quickly. But the first thing is seller financing. And so this strategy just involves the seller acting as the lender, allowing you to buy the property without going through traditional financing. Number 2 is buying a property subject to. And so this is in a subject to deal, you're taking over the property's existing mortgage without formally assuming the loan. And then
so in our example, like Tilisa literally has my client's mortgage login information. Well, her client, her partner. Anyway,
yeah,
they log in using his info. This is all in contract. So this is all legal. Everybody agrees. Everybody knows. They log in and make the mortgage payment every month for my client. So that is subject to.
Yes. And then raising private money. I mean, I just talked about it. This approach just involves finding private individuals who are willing to lend you money to fund your deals. And so when we talk about seller financing, I just want you guys to just imagine, you want to sell your iPhone. We all try to sell stuff on the Facebook marketplace. And let's say you want to sell it for $1,500. And then you're getting all these offers, but people on Facebook Market are like, I'll give you $400 for your phone. I'll give you $300 for your phone. And you're like, no, I want my $1,500. Like, I know how much this phone is worth. And then all of a sudden I come along and I'm like, hey, McKayla, I see you're selling your phone for $1,500. I will give you that $1,500. However, I need you to allow me to give you like a down payment of maybe like $150 and allow me to pay you $100 a month for the next 10 months or whatever else. You can charge me interest, but ultimately you're going to get your full $1,500. And so McKayla owns the phone outright. And she's like, hey, you know what? I do want my $1,500. I don't mind getting those payments over time. I'd rather take that versus just accepting $300 for my phone. And so we make an arrangement and we create a promissory note. And now I am paying $1,500 plus interest for McKayla's phone. McKayla, would
And
you
you
allow
know-
me to buy your phone for $1,500?
Yes, I would. I would totally. And this works really well in a situation where a great example is like older people, okay? They're on a fixed income, maybe they receive Social Security, and they are, if they were to make too much money by selling their house that they paid off a long, long time ago, so they're selling their home, and let's say they sold it on the MLS for 400,000, now that's not so great for them tax wise. Whereas if they could split up the payments and it looks like rental income or it looks like small chunks of money, it's not triggering any tax things. I'm not a tax person, but I know this is true. It's not triggering certain tax audit things for them, and they are able to receive those monthly payments in smaller increments rather than a huge upfront payment. So
Right. And you can, and there, I think the biggest benefit for people is that they're able to defer capital gains tax. I think that's the biggest thing, because when you sell a property, they're going to tax you. You get the full amount. They're going to tax you substantially. So being able to sell it seller finance gives you the ability to defer those tax payments and ultimately get the price that you want for your property. So like I said, seller financing is a creative finance option where the seller of the home takes on the role as a lender. So instead of a traditional financing institution like a bank, this arrangement can be beneficial for, like we said, both the buyer and the seller. And it just offers more flexibility and potential advantages towards like tax savings and things like that. So seller financing is one of the options. And that is how I was able to purchase this quadplex with no credit, no employment, bank verifications, and zero out of my own pocket, which means what? My return is infinite. But we talk about, oh, I'm going to get a 10% return or 20%. My return is infinite because I didn't put any of my own money into that deal. So every single dollar that I make on this property, it's an infinite return. Okay. We just mentioned some of the advantages of doing seller financing is the flexibility of the terms. So the seller could say, okay, Tilisa, I want $100,000 down. I'm going to charge you 3% interest. I only want to do this. I only want you to finance it for 10 years or 15 years. And so you and the seller, you guys get to determine what those terms are. You're not relying on a bank to say 7% interest, 20% down. It's not fixed like that. You can kind of negotiate that. Another thing is that the transactions are much faster. So I'm normally able to close on a deal within like 7 to 14 days versus with traditional lending. They're going to want, a full-on inspection. If there's anything wrong, like with the roof, they're going to want you to repair that before that they even, will finance you. So sometimes that process can take 30 to 90 days. So doing something seller finance, it's beneficial for the sellers because they get to be able to close quickly and move on with their life. And then we talked about the tax benefits. Now, when we talk about subject to is a little different because in the previous example, McKayla owned that phone outright. So she had paid that phone off. So there wasn't any debt on the phone, right? And subject to, it's like buying a car that has a car note. And now you can't, for some reason, you can't make your car payment or, maybe you don't want to make that car payment anymore. You're trying to save. And so I might come in and say, hey, McKayla, I'd like to buy your car from you. I know you want $23,000 for it and you may owe like $10,000 on it. So I might give her $3,000 up front and then pay her monthly payment for her and be able to acquire the car that way. So that is subject to, like we said earlier, I'm taking over somebody else's mortgage payment. I'm logging into their account. I'm paying that mortgage for them. The mortgage debt actually stays in their name, and then the deed gets transferred into my name. And so, and I know some of you are like, oh my God, that sounds so scary or so risky, you know, and it's very important to make sure that the person that you're working with knows what they're doing. The buyer, you want to make sure that this is somebody that's actually going to make those payments, because if they miss a payment, that's your credit. And so I'm not saying to go into this willy-nilly. You need to be able to ask the right questions. And so that's a part of why myself and McKayla are here, because she's on one side, I'm on the other side, and we can help you guys kind of fill in those gaps in the middle.
Yeah.
I'll hurry up because I know McKayla's got to start hers. And so with a subject to deal, it's really a unique strategy for acquiring properties. Like I said, this method allows the buyer to take over the current existing mortgage and without having to formally assume the loan. And like I said, the original mortgage remains in the seller's name and the buyer takes over those monthly payments. And so anyways, I'm not going to go through all of this. I'll just reiterate. I just reiterated that. But this is a property that I purchased subject to also using zero of my own money. No, I didn't have to have my credit ran. No, I didn't need to use banks. Same thing with my return on this one is infinite. I believe that my entry fee on this was $75,000, in which I raised from a lady who had just money sitting in her retirement, making like 3% interest. And I was able to offer her 12% interest. And so now she's able to 10x her retirement by investing in one of my deals. And so lastly, I'm going to talk about raising private money. So when it comes to raising private money, I try to look at it like this. The moment that you walk outside your door, everybody that you encounter is a potential private money lender. I mean, your mailman, the clerk at the grocery store, the stranger that you meet on an airplane, everybody is a potential private money lender. So every single time when I walk out my door, I've got on my hat that says I need to be telling people what I do. I'm already a big talker. I already like talking to people. So I can spark up a conversation and ask somebody what they do. And in return, they're going to say, oh, well, what do you do? And in my response, I'm a real estate investor and I help regular people put their money to work and earn double-digit returns. And then they want to know, well, how do you do that? And what kind of funds do you use? And so I start to explain to them, well, some people have an old 401k and they can't pull that money out until they're 65. And so sometimes what they'll do is they'll move that money into a self-directed Roth IRA, which is just another retirement account. And from there, they can lend it out to people like myself to fund my deal and get those double-digit returns. Other times people have a ton of equity in their house. Maybe they might have inherited a house from a grandma and they've got like $500,000 sitting in equity and not realizing that they can do a home equity line of credit, pull that money out, and then put that money to work as a private money lender. Now, the thing that I will mention is that in this instance, when you do a HELOC, the financial institution, they're going to charge you like an interest, right? They might charge you 2 to 3% interest. So if this is you need to make sure that whatever investor you're working with is able to give you at least double that. So that way you can actually make money. So like I said, typically I'm giving my private money lenders 10 to 12% interest. So if they're being charged 3% interest, they're still making 8 to 9% interest on that money that would have been otherwise just sitting there, not doing anything. And then people just have money just sitting in old personal and business savings accounts with these high yield savings accounts. Maybe you might be getting 1% or 2%, not realizing that as a private money lender, you could be earning on the upwards 10 to 12% on that money. And so the way that I look at it is like, we all have men. If I look at my money like it's little men, and if my men are not out there working, making me more money, then what are you even doing here? I don't need my money just sitting on the couch playing the video game, right? Like, I need my money to be out there working. And so I explain to people, don't allow your money to be sitting and being lazy. Put that money to work so that you don't have to work that hard, because somebody's got to work. Either you're going to work hard or your money's going to work hard. And I'd much rather my money to be working harder than me. Okay.
For sure. For sure.
So anyhow, the benefits of becoming a private money lender: one, you're going to get higher returns. They're going to get higher returns. It's secured by and insured by a real estate asset, right? Because I know that there's a lot of other investment tools like stocks, bonds, you know, all these things. You're not getting a recorded mortgage. You're not getting a deed of trust. You're not getting insurance. If you lose your money, you just lose your money. These monies are backed by a real estate asset. So if anything happens, my private money lenders have a tangible asset that they can now sell or they can rent out in the event that I don't do my part, right? And then there's no management hassles. A lot of people who are becoming private money lenders, they might work as a doctor and they love their job, but they want to also invest in real estate. However, they don't want to be worried about toilets and tenants and all that other stuff. And so this gives them the ability to invest in real estate passively without having to deal with all the headache, but still be able to get the returns of investing in real estate. So this is John. This is John, my very first private money lender that I met on a plane. The one that I told you guys that we spoke for 3 hours about family, friends, and spiritual life. And then by the time we were off that plane, he told me that he wanted to lend me $300,000. And so him and I have done several deals together. We go to lunch and dinner often, but ultimately this is a business of building authentic relationships, right? And it's a win-win scenario for everybody involved. And so if you guys just want to dive into creative finance a little more, I do have a free ebook, and I will put that, or I don't know if my assistant is on here, Eileen, if you are, if you can put the link to the free ebook in the chat, you guys are more than welcome to download that and dive a little bit deeper into each of these strategies that I spoke about, okay? And so next, McKayla, I'm so sorry. I know I went kind of over, but I'm going to allow McKayla to take it off and explain exactly what it is that she does. Go ahead, girl.
Okay, you guys. So I'm McKayla. I've already introduced myself, so we don't need to dive into that. Tilisa, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so basics of real estate investing. And okay, so there's a few things that I want you guys to understand about investing in real estate. We all know about like asset appreciation and cash flow, and obviously lots of tax benefits. We all in this group must be in this realm. So we all understand the benefits of investing in real estate, and diversifying your portfolio, whether you are investing in stocks or have a self-directed IRA. You know that adding additional real estate assets to your portfolio is beneficial. So, all right, let's go to the next slide. So, I want to explain to you guys the different investment strategies. When I go, these are some of my properties that I've invested in and bought. And so there's different investment strategies, and I mostly will buy and hold. So basically fixing and flipping, you're going to buy a distressed property, renovate it, and then sell it for a profit. I like keeping mine because I like making Airbnbs out of them. I also have long-term renters in a lot of my properties as well, and they're fantastic tenants. So I buy a distressed property, and you don't have to buy it distressed. There's just more money in it for me for my personal strategy when they are distressed. And then you renovate it, and have the intention of holding on to it. And then there's wholesaling, which, Tilisa, do you consider yourself a wholesaler?
You know what? I actually used to wholesale when I
Yeah.
first started in real estate.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I did, because now I'm able to identify janky
Yeah.
wholesalers. And so,
Yes, that's for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
I know we could do a whole class on how to identify the red flags of a janky wholesaler. But anyway,
Oh, yeah.
so wholesaling is basically you're acting as the intermediary of a property. So like you'll find a distressed property owner and be like, hey, you'll get it under contract, and then you flip that contract and find the end buyer, and then you like get a fee for yourself as the wholesaler for like finding the property. And you basically sell the contract to another investor. And then real estate investment trust, but we don't need to go into that. We can go to the next page. Okay, so my strategy, this is how I have built my entire real estate portfolio from day one, and first property, is the BRRRR method. If you guys are familiar with the BRRRR method, just put yes in the chat. If you're not, you can put no in the chat. And based on that, I can either go into it and explain it. But the BRRRR method is, okay, so some people, okay. So BRRRR method, the definition of the BRRRR method is buy, rehab, rent, and refinance. So you're going to buy a property that is, again, in distress. And there's varying levels to that. And you're going to rehab it, so renovate it, force appreciation into this property as much as you can. You have to be strategic about it and not overdo it in certain neighborhoods and things like that. There's a whole strategy behind that. And whether you do it on your own or hire a contractor or a combination of both, you really want to balance the renovation and the value that you're going to put into it. And then you're going to rent it out, and then you're going to refinance it. And you can do this cycle over and over and over again. So I'm going to give you an example so you can copy my strategy. You can go to the next slide. So copy my strategy, you guys. The BRRRR method stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. And it's a real estate investment strategy used to build wealth by acquiring rental properties. So I've already gone through that. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so the nitty-gritty of this. This is one of my properties, and it's located in Akron, Ohio. I live in Florida, so I self-manage this. This is a short-term rental property that I own. I bought it for $90,000. It was on the MLS, and it's a 3-bedroom. It was a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. I added a 2nd bath and a laundry room on the main floor. And so I did $25,540 in renovations, and furnishing is included in that cost. So my total investment, you guys, was $115,540. And once it was completely renovated, furnished, I started renting it out on Airbnb and all the short-term rental sites, and got an appraisal. So I decided I was going to do a cash out refinance, and the bank sent an appraiser. And this is a screenshot of my actual appraisal at the bottom. And so they appraised it at $173,000. I was able to, through the bank I used, some banks will only give you 75% of the loan to value ratio back, but I was able to get 80%. And so I was able to pull out $138,400 from that. And so I out of that money, paid myself back the $115,540 that I used to front this project. And then I was able to take that the remaining amount, the 22,860, and roll that money into my next property. So that can be a down payment. That can be you cover renovation costs, and maybe we do a lighter rehab on a smaller property. And of course, I also have my $115,000 that I put into it back in my account as well. So the strategy is each time calculating it and doing it strategically that you're going to get back your seed money, which is what I call it, like my original upfront cost, and then some, so I can keep growing my portfolio. So okay, so evaluating a deal. If you guys want to scan this QR code, I have a calculator. I'm giving it to you for free. You can have it, use it. This is how I evaluate all my deals. You can plug in any property that you find that you're interested in, and it will tell you if it's a good investment or not. It's going to tell you how much your potential monthly profit is and annual profit. You can use, if you're into short-term renting, you can use sites like AirDNA, which will tell you like how much properties around your subject property are getting in nightly rent and income. Anyway, scan that QR code. We can also, we'll send this out in an email if you guys, some of you are on your phones, but this is an amazing tool, and I hope you guys get a lot of value out of it. This is that same house that I renovated. You can kind of go through these 3 pictures, but just put down LVP and like renovated the whole house. So anyway, the importance of scaling your real estate portfolio is so important for long-term success. So scaling isn't just about having a bunch of properties, it's setting yourself up for a future of financial wins. So think a marathon, not a sprint. Examples of long-term benefits, like imagine starting out with 1 property, and as it appreciates, you add more to your portfolio. The cumulative value grows, leading to substantial wealth, more time, money, just gives you more time with your family and doing the things you want to do. So with each property contributing to your overall income every month, you create a reliable source of income that can support your lifestyle, pay for your kids' college, buy back time with your family, and fund future investments. So a larger portfolio over time with increased equity provides more opportunities also for favorable financing terms and more access to capital. So like as my equity over the years has grown, lenders they want to partner with me. They're like wanting to give me money. They give me more favorable loan terms each time I work with them. And then lower interest rates and like higher loan amounts. That way I can take on more ambitious projects. I can buy beachfront properties and cash flow even more with those, like when I started with small properties. So anyway, I hope that this was helpful for you guys. I know that we only have 3 minutes left. Oh, we can go, yeah. And then, okay, hold on. We only have 3 minutes left. I would love to answer some questions if we have time for that. But again, Tilisa and I are hosting, I don't know what happened to this slide, no big deal, but Tilisa and I are doing a 6-week investing series where we're literally opening up our playbook, our contacts, like everything to teach you how to do what we do. And that will start October 30th and run once a week, every Wednesday through December 4th. So we'll send more of this information out. If you guys are interested, you can scan that QR code. We would love to coach you guys through wherever you're at in your investing process. Maybe you're just starting, or maybe you're working on your 7th deal and you just want to know how to do things maybe a little differently or have more systems. in place. So anyway, if you have questions, put them in the chat. Go ahead, Tilisa.
No, I was just going to say that that link for the 6-week investing series is in the chat. So if you guys are interested in signing up, it's there just in case you're not able to scan that barcode. But yeah, I'd love to answer some questions. You guys can put them in the chat or you can just unmute. I'd love to hear your voices. So feel free to shoot and you guys just ask us whatever you'd like.
Yeah, there's a question in here. Do you get taxed when you refinance? No, you're basically just restructuring your loan on the property. They're basing the value off of all the forced depreciation you have put into the house or condo or whatever. And so they're just saying, oh, well, now it's worth this much money. So we'll loan you up to 80% of this value. And now you have a mortgage payment on it, which my renters pay for me. And then I cash flow whatever I make on top of that.
That's a great question. Hi there. Is it Kai?
Yes. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Do you guys have any like blueprints or ideas to work with nonprofits? Because I have a nonprofit and we do transitioning housing for people trying to help them get back on their feet, whether it's a sober living or let's say they get out of prison and it's DOC requirements. Do you have any experience working with clients like that?
Yeah, me personally, I do actually. So a lot of the properties that I buy, I am renting them out to at-risk adults. And so like I'll buy like a 4-bedroom home and I will put 2 beds in each room. And then I'll rent out those individual beds for like $800 a month. And I mean, for somebody who cannot go just get an apartment because like their credit is bad or maybe they don't have the employment requirement, or sometimes just the down payment plus the first month's rent is so astronomical that people can't even afford to get into it, even if they could afford the rent. And so this option gives them the ability to rent out their room or their bed for $800 a month. That covers rent, utilities, Wi-Fi. But yeah, I do work with certain nonprofits and they will send me the people that they can no longer serve. So like there's a shelter for women that have been domestically abused, and the shelter in Pensacola will only allow them to stay there for 6 weeks. And so after 6 weeks, they have to put them back out on the street. And so these people, the nonprofit will call me and say, hey, Tilisa, do you have any beds? So I don't even have to market for, to get my beds filled. The organizations are just sending me people. And so that's a very lucrative way to, to utilize your home and then also be able to give back to the community as well. So yes, absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Tilisa, someone said in the chat, Christy said, in seller financing, will the buyer receive credit for their purchase and when?
Will they receive credit for their purchase as far as what, let's see, when I cash out, when you cash out refinance?
Oh, sorry, that was
one.
me. Go back up. Christy said in seller financing, will buyer receive credit for their purchase and when?
Christy actually jumped on here. So Christy, if you want to unmute and just ask, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, so my brother is currently looking for a property, and his finances are, pretty restrictive right now. And so if I were to go and look into seller financing right now, he's going to ask me the question, well, what if this isn't my forever home? What if I want to turn around then after this home, get another home? Will the seller finance, like his purchase to a seller, will that then give him any credit for his next house, which could be mortgaged?
Okay, so and he would be in this situation, he's the buyer, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So the thing about seller financing and subject to is normally investors are getting into these deals because they don't have to utilize their credit. And
Right.
so it's like, it's not going to be reported to like your brother's credit score because he didn't have to use credit to establish the financing. The person that is going to help is the original seller, because you're going to continue to, like, in the subject to transaction, you're going to continue to pay their mortgage. So every single month, it's going to look like that seller has continued to make on-time payments, which could help the seller. But the buyer, however, would not receive those benefits. But I guess my thing is that if you already know how to buy a property, seller finance or subject to, you'll never need to buy a property and have to run your credit. So that's never even going to be an issue. When you go to buy your forever home, you just buy it seller financing. So you wouldn't need credit. I think sometimes because the way society has kind of trained us, we kind of have like these lenses on that say, I have to have good credit if I want a car, if I want a house. But I completely remove that lens and I'm like, I'm throwing away credit. I'm just going to buy it this way.
Well, and you're right. I mean, we listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey here, and but I wanted to tell you guys, like I asterished it on my paper, that when you guys went through the using, you know, like money from 401ks and whatever, I'm in my brain going, oh my word, we have money sitting in account that's only receiving maybe 5%. My husband is so like discouraged when he looks at our 401k and some other investments. I'm like, what am I doing? I should be like using that money for real estate. So thank you so much for bringing that to my mind, because now I'm like, oh, well, I could be that investor right now.
And Tilisa did mention that the vehicle for doing that is a self-directed Roth IRA. And that is one of the, I'm pretty sure it's the only investment vehicle that you can really invest in real estate. You can take that money and put it in real estate. So it's a fantastic strategy.
And if you don't, ladies, if you don't mind, Christy, I just want to also add in that you can, so if your brother's limited by like purchase power right now, and maybe the home he wants to buy is like something he wouldn't necessarily qualify for, that is also another opportunity to use seller financing. And so seller financing is going to be a traditional sell, meaning that your brother is going to secure ownership. And from that point, any equity gained on the property does become your brother's.
True. That's what I was thinking.
Yes, exactly. What you want to do is you do want to make sure that the note specifically has things like no prepayment penalties and things like that. So if in 2 years your brother wants to sell and move up or something like that, you don't want to obligate him to the 30-year note with penalties. So you just want to be careful in the notes terms. But that is as far, I haven't gotten near as creative as these amazing powerhouses, but I have done multiple purchases myself and for my family to where I could see the even with my property, the one I have now that I have a family compound, it was out of my reach, but I secured it with seller financing, and it was about securing it. Then I refinanced it, and now I sit on the other side of that. So yeah.
I love that.
Will your 6-week class include some of those details?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Because that's
going
what
to
I'm
be
looking
diving
for, is the
into
nitty-gritty
all of it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I'm just gonna throw in here, like, you better jump on this class, because I'm like behind the scenes with McKayla, and I'm like, wait a minute, why is it $97? And she's so sweet, but she's like, well, it's my first one. I'm like, you have the proof, sister. So so I was like, okay,
I'm just like, I have not spent time teaching any, like, I've spent a little time, a fraction of time teaching other women how to do this. And so I'm just excited to be able to share with you guys and offer this value to the community. So anyway,
well,
Tilisa
we
and I are
appreciate
excited.
it so much.
Yeah, I'm jumping in at $97 before it goes up.
Everyone before it goes up, right? Well, ladies, thank you so much. And we also will have the live stream had a couple hiccups, but keep in mind this will go on our YouTube channel. If you want the record, make sure that you jump in our mailing list. And McKayla and Tilisa, thank you so much. You guys are amazing.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Anytime. Thanks for having us, you guys.
Bye, ladies. Thank you all for jumping on today.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys.